What up, y'all? Welcome to the late night tea, grown folks Friday edition, y'all. I'm your girl Bella with Black Cultures Lit TV, and tonight we're reaching to the one and only Armon Wiggins, who just broke down the final day of the Diddy trial like only he can. But y'all already know, I don't want to just sip the tea. I want to stir it when needed. So let's react, respond, and really unpack this moment together.
All right, so is everybody oiled up, Diddy duked up, and ready to go? All right, so today was the final day of arguments. Monday, the jury will get their instruction. They will begin to deliberate. We are coming down to the end. And let me tell you, it's been a lot going on. The courtroom, outside, it's a lot of looky-loos, weirdos, clout chasers, media, talent, YouTubers, everybody trying to get their last piece of the pie before it is eaten all up and divided. They've had about 3 or 4 overflow rooms open. Courtrooms are full. People, you can't even leave outside the main courtroom to go pee or scratch your ass, or you won't be allowed back in. It's gotten that intense. It's gotten that locked up. Okay? People are arguing and fighting in the mornings. The crazies are making their way downtown, and they're yelling to get on anybody's live stream they can. Okay? It's a lot going on. The cloud chasers are in full throttle, full effect. The weirdos are out.
No more spending 72 hours hunched over a computer, double-checking Excel sheets to ensure your numbers are aligned. Data
and everything in between. Diddy's family is out. The kids are not looking like they're handling it too well. The girls are there still listening to all of the stuff, the shenanigans. It's a media frenzy. It's a lot going on. But today, the defense took the stand or took the stage, and they went into their final thoughts. Mark Agnifilo, the defense head attorney for Diddy, went ahead and laid out his case. I'm going to tell you something. The beginning of this was horrible. It was cringy. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know how much Diddy paid, but I'm just assuming it's $1 million. And it's no way in hell I would pay $1 million for Mark Agnifilo to get up there and do what he did for the first half of this closing argument statement today. And what I'm saying is he went up there and said, I'm not coming with no notes, no receipts, no nothing. You would have thought this man decided that today was going to be his first day, doing a comedy show. He was busy trying to be funny, be relatable. He was calling Cassie in an underhanded way a hoe. Said she was basically standing on business. Said she was keeping it gangster. Mark Agnifilo was talking to the black people in the crowd today. So much so, he even went and jumped ship and pleaded and begged and told the jury not to trust the government because they are targeting Diddy. And black people love that kind of language. So he know what he did today. He was talking to the black people. We're going to get into that. But he race baited and emotionally baited the black jurors of it all. Because black people love to say you can't trust the feds. Don't trust the law. They always want to come for the black man. He even tried to paint Diddy as some nice, whimsical creature that created a magical place. I think he used a magical work environment, magical opportunities. He was a nice guy with a little drug problem. But Cassie, she was the one balancing two different men. And Capricorn Clark, she was in love with Diddy. She was never kidnapped. He never brought a gun to her house. In fact, Capricorn, she's crying about how Diddy came to her house at 5:30 in the morning. She was happy as hell. All her life, she's been wanting Diddy to slide by her house at 5 in the morning. Oh, he was giving it. And Mia wanted that dick. That's why Diddy said, I'm going to tell Cassie what we did. Mia wasn't assaulted. She was going. She wanted Diddy. And guess what? Cassie's a liar. She was never. Oh, he was carrying. He was over there blending stories, mixing stuff up. Oh, he was carrying. Cassie's a freak. She's sexy. She's balancing two niggas. He didn't say the N-word, but you know he pretty much did. So that's what he was on today. Let's get into a little bit of it. But in a nutshell, he said Cassie was lying, Mia was lying, Capricorn was lying, and Jane Doe was the biggest hoe. And they all wanted Diddy. And Diddy is just a nice man that has a few different girlfriends. Oh, and by the way, that surveillance video you saw, you know, he was going to get his phone. He didn't traffic Cassie. He shouldn't have hit her. But it wasn't that bad almost. KK, everybody loved KK. KK is the nicest woman on the planet. She's not a co-conspirator. And prostitutes? No way. Mr. Combs, my client, would never hire an escort for sex. That didn't happen. Oh, yeah, it was all of that. They were carrying. So let's just get into a little bit of what he was saying, what I wrote down. Agnifico, he says, I'm not using no charts, no screens. He started off with saying Cassie had a boyfriend that was 10 years older than her. She lied and said she was going to a booking in Miami just to cheat on her man and be with Diddy. And then he made love to her. So in English, she was already dating older niggas. She wanted the next other rich nigga. She was a hoe. She lied and Diddy fucked her the first night. Cassie is the real winner here. She's sitting somewhere with $30 million. She's no victim and she's not naive. She's his match. She's just like him. They were just alike, and they truly loved each other. Oh, yeah, he played the game. And you know what that said, right? You know who that's talking to. Not only is that talking to the black jurors in the audience, that's also talking to the black people in the crowd, because for us, I'm going to be honest with you, we can get a little ignorant, right? And we get very emotionally charged, you know, and then we become haters with people that get money. So it doesn't matter if the woman was kicked, beat, stomped, we feel some type of way because she got $20 million, and then we found out she sued the Intercontinental and got an additional 10. So we all in her pockets like, what? You got all this money, and I'm sitting over here still on food stamps and government assistance. I don't feel bad for you. Kick that again. Christmas is coming up in 6 to 8 months, and I don't know what I'm finna do. I got all these kind of bills, and I can't even go to the grocery store. I hate Cassie. You got women up there, they just, soon as the money coming, she got that money. She got that fucking money. I don't feel bad for her. You know how we are. We get to hate. But mind you, Diddy sitting up there with billions of dollars. But we feel bad because it's a 6-pack of white women, right? And it's the feds. You got Diddy sitting there with the gray hair. You get to look at the sons. The women like the sons. The boys, Christian, justice. Woo, woo. Then the daughters, they bring the daughters. The daughters is in there crying. Everybody feel bad because it's not just Diddy, it's the family. And you feel like, oh my God, I'm watching this family come to court every day. And I'm also watching this 6-pack of white women. And, I feel bad for this civilian. Diddy is not no civilian. And I'll be clear for y'all in the back. You blacks, Diddy wouldn't piss on you if it was hot, if he was on fire. Wouldn't even spit on you if he was at the freak off.
He sure would not.
He'll get out of here and tell you, bitch, now get on your knees. You know I'm the God. That's why I'm like, girl, a lot of these people rooting for Diddy in this way, it's like, girl, let's be clear. He did it. But it's just about how the story is painted. But what's kind of tripped me out, I understand men are really going, but it's a lot of black women, surprisingly, siding with Diddy at the court.
Yeah.
It's a lot of black women up there really rooting for the defense, hardcore. It's very interesting to me. Very, 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 very interesting. But anyway, they truly loved each other. They loved out loud. If you need some good, he says, if you need a good read and you're not busy over the weekend, just go into the evidence and read the love notes. You'll cry. They truly love each other so much until it just wasn't going to work. Mr. Combs just wasn't going to give up the other women. I said Agnifilo was up here freestyling. Diddy saying Kim Porter being the love of his life was the breaking point. Cassie then left like she always could. Did anything happen to her when she left? If racketeering had an opposite, it would be them. There was a time where she felt like Mr. Combs was proud. I said, bullshit. Diddy is a narc. Out of thousands of, because they asked Cassie, like, what has been the hardest moment, whatever. And she was like, having Diddy, having to face himself. They were saying, well, Diddy's just a proud guy. He let his, ego get the best of him. And, and I wrote, no, Agnifilo's really trying to paint Diddy as this is what gets me. Like, we know who we're dealing with. All I'm saying is this. Y'all rooting for somebody that y'all want to get off? Of course he looks humble now. Of course he looks defeated now. Of course you're going to feel bad. But just know, that's because he's hit rock bottom. The minute he's up, it's all you niggas. I always thought that was interesting when I go to cases and, you see all the pick-me's, and it's just like.
Thank you guys for joining my live. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe. But I want to talk about this. sometimes I feel like we as black women, we either gotta protect our black kings from the system, right? Or sell them out. But to me, that's a trap. Because black women shouldn't have to choose between justice and blackness. We can love our culture and say, that ain't right. So we gotta start saying this with our chest. Protecting predators just because they black keep the cycle going. And that ain't love, y'all. That's legacy trauma. So we got to get out of that.
You do know if this man gets free, he doesn't give a shit about you, just like he never did and never would. And you're not going to get to date one of the sons. You're not going to be on the party boat. You become another worthless, broke motherfucker. You do know that, right? And he becomes...
Monday CRM has the best AI features in the game.
Especially in sales.
Hands down.
So for me, email composition works like magic.
Even more of a god that looks down upon you and talks crazy to you. So I just think that that's interesting. So I don't really feel bad because I already know. Okay, you hit rock bottom, so you gotta look humble. You gotta feel humble. But Agnifilo is not about to sell me on. You're just this man that's just coy and timid and just woo. Like, it's not, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. So out of the thousands of messages between Diddy and Cassie, you won't see one message that Cassie didn't like this. They had a swinger lifestyle. She's a woman that likes sex. Good. She's a woman and she's beautiful. Meaning Cassie wanted it. She was a freak. She was just as freaky as Diddy. Let's talk about Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi said, Cassie's playing me. She should have. And Nifilo said, that's what Kid Cudi said. Cassie played me. She said, yeah, she should have played you. He said, Cassie is keeping it gangster. She had a burner phone on that. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is so cringy. I said, is this a comedy debut? Cassie's keeping it gangster? So you see that so what he's doing here is painting the picture that Cassie and Diddy are the same person. If Diddy's a thug, so is Cassie. If Diddy's this G that got all these different women, well, Cassie was playing two niggas in a burner phone. And she was fucking them both. She's sexy and bad, and she got power. This man tried to say that Diddy and Cassie was equals. Ain't no way in nobody's hell was Diddy and Cassie equals.
Y'all got to remember, this is the defense. This is the last speech that they can give the jury before sentencing.
Then he threw out there, remember, Cassie the one that said Jay-Z's taken. So who else am I gonna fuck? During this time, I said, I'm cringing. The defense is on the bench looking like, what the fuck are you doing? This is not a comedy show. Because during this time, Teeny Garagos is looking like, what the fuck is he doing? This mother just went rogue because he just walking around just saying shit. Now, apparently in the courtroom, they're saying some of the jurors was laughing. I didn't see him because I wasn't inside the actual courtroom. But I'm like, this looks awkward. And this feels awkward. But from where I'm sitting, I could see the faces of the lawyers. In the courtroom, you can't see their faces because you're sitting behind them. So you have the trade-off. So if you're in the overflow room, you can see everybody's face. If you're in the actual courtroom, you can see the jury. So I wanted to make sure that I could see the people's faces because I wanted to see what it was going to be given. So Teeny was kind of looking like, nigga, what? Like, okay, we got to reel this back in. He gets on the Capricorn Clark in the racketeering. When Capricorn Clark talked about how she wanted her life back. And he talked about how Capricorn said we were super platonic friends. She liked Diddy. Then he said something is a little off with her. But fundamentally, she's a good person. But we can all agree something's a little off, you know. Capricorn's a little but fundamentally, she's a good person. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, he's gone rogue. Like, this mother is gone rogue. Then he's went through more text messages of Capricorn. You misuse our dope chemistry. I said, making joke and making light of the testimony, mocking. And then she was like, because he was talking about how, you know, if Capricorn was so kidnapped and the big fat guy, 5 times her size, but she went home every day? How were you kidnapped when you went home every day? And it lasted 5 days. So were you kidnapped every day? But you didn't try to leave. I've never heard of a person be kidnapped and then go home. She said, and Diddy didn't kidnap her. Capricorn wanted to get in that car. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. She's so happy that the nigga called at 5 a.m. She didn't know what to do. Capricorn just wanted to be back in Diddy's orbit. Like she was just happy to be there. Then they talked about when the chain got missing. Remember the jewelry got missing. This would actually started Capricorn doing the lie detector test. So Capricorn called the actual offices when the when the jewelry got missing and said, lock everyone in here and search them. So he used that against her and said, well, she was kidnapped, but when the thing first happened, she made an announcement to lock everybody up herself and have everyone searched. And everybody was like, oh, I guess you start seeing people. You know what I mean? I'm looking around, you start. And it's always us. White people don't do nothing. And you know, and I'm guilty of it too, because I'm oohing and on and And then, but you know, it's us, I'm just like, oh God. It's always us, and I'm included. And so she said she was kidnapped, but she went home every day. So was she kidnapped 5 consecutive days, Monday through Friday? He was really playing. If she was there for 10 hours at a time, and at the end of the day, she's going home, that's not kidnapping. He said, look around. Do y'all feel kidnapped? You guys are about as kidnapped as much as she is. You guys are in here for long hours. And you're not kidnapped, but you got to be here talking to the jury. You're just as much as kidnapped as Capricorn Clark. The government wants you to sit and argue and think about what she kidnapped in 2004. But she went home every day.
Meet Jim. He started a cleaning business in his hometown. He invests in training, source.
Diddy was on Broadway running multiple businesses. Do you think he gives a damn about her and a polygraph test? And I wrote, Diddy is sitting on the edge of his seat. He was like, Diddy's on Broadway running multi-million-dollar businesses. You think he cares about that? I'm thinking he definitely cares about that. December 22nd, 2011, Kid Cudi and Cassie and Diddy. Diddy goes through Cassie's phone, sees a message between Cassie and Capricorn. And that's when the issue began. So that's when Diddy went to Capricorn Clark's house. He said, I'm going to give you 5 reasons that Diddy didn't have a gun. Reason number 1, why would he have a gun? Capricorn was so happy to have him at her house at 5:30 in the morning. She's been waiting her whole life for that moment. Number 2, he didn't need to have a gun. No, he didn't need the address from Capricorn. Cassie already gave it to him. Because remember, Cassie said that she ended up telling Diddy where Kid Cudi lived. Number 3, Diddy has everything to lose. Number 4, Capricorn would not have stayed employed if he pulled a gun on her. I mean, let's face it. He pushed her out the house and she left. So why would she stay if he just pulled a gun out on her? And number 5, Cudi and Cassie never said that. If Capricorn warned Kid Cudi that Diddy was coming to his house, why wouldn't she say he's here with a gun? No gun was mentioned in the police report. No Kid Cudi statement was made where there was a gun involved. Also, Capricorn's timelines was off. She said she made the call at 6:15 and she said 8:15. There was no gun. He said they were men. Diddy is a man. He pulled up there to fight Kid Cudi. A good old knock him out street fight. He's a fighter. You with my girlfriend, we gonna have a good old Hollywood Hills brawl. Diddy was gonna put his dukes up. And these ones, not the shorts. There was no evidence. Let me tell you what evidence is. Evidence is DNA. So then he started talking about, how the arson investigator never took any prints of the DNA. They lost that DNA. They didn't really research the DNA on the Molotov cocktail. The one thing that they had actual evidence on, they lost it. The DNA. Whose DNA was on the cocktail? So I said, Comey is looking like this is. Oh, because Comey was over there sitting there looking like this. It's crazy. She was over there disgusted. The investigator didn't do anything with the only evidence in this case, the DNA. They didn't run fingerprints. They didn't know about DNA. He went and tried to track down Capricorn, Cassie, because he talked about how he went to track down Cassie, Capricorn, and they weren't answering the phone. This was the arson investigator. He was trying to track down everybody. You guys remember that part of the story? But they said he went he did all that tracking down, but he didn't track down the DNA. The one piece of stone cold evidence. He didn't know about DNA. And if you remember, that was going to always be a problem. So Comey had the guy, when he went up on the stand, he went and they made that very clear that he doesn't know DNA, because that was the angle that the defense was coming at, because they knew before that guy even touched the stand to testify that his weak spot was DNA. So the moment he said that he didn't understand DNA and he was supposed to be an arson investigator, they dragged him. This nigga don't even know no DNA. Let's talk about Cassie being kidnapped. Rather staying at Diddy's house, she had to stay at the London hotel. When you want to go to the house of the person who kidnapped you, it's not kidnapping. She didn't want to go to the London hotel after the fight. She wanted to be at Diddy's house. So how is that kidnapping? This is what he's saying. Let's talk about bribery of the security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel. $100,000. This is about a law enforcement charge. Now, he kind of ate this up. He said, but that wasn't the point of the payment. It was about bad publicity. So let me break that down for you. Bribery falls under giving somebody money so they don't report something or said thing to the police. So in this instance, if I had that video and I was going to take it to the police, and you knew I was going to take it to the police, Diddy would say, hey, don't take that to the police. I'll give you $100,000. That is bribery. But paying me $100,000 so I just don't release it so that the public doesn't see it and it doesn't ruin my business and future endeavors, that's not bribery. That's just protecting myself against bad press, is what Agnifilo is saying. That Diddy,
after doing an average of $1.167 million per month in the year of 2024, this is the one
did. He said they were not worried about the police. They were worried about bad press. Diddy my client wasn't worried about, the police seeing him hit Cassie and kick Cassie in the face. For God's sakes, that's just a misdemeanor. If she would have went to the police, just a little abuse, just a little kick and a drop kick and an uppercut and a punch, that's just a misdemeanor. We don't give a fuck about that. We don't want the bad press, is what he said. Oh yeah, he was trying it today. That's what he said. So then after that, we kind of went to lunch because Agnifilo said, why did the government charge him? And you guys can question it yourself. Also, so Comey got upset because he kept alluding. So we go to break. And so she gets pissed off because she's like, he's telling the jury to worry about like why we're charging him, suggesting that like they need to question us. And that, that can lead into a race thing, that can lead into prejudicial issues. So that was the problem there. And then she said he's also suggesting that we're charging him hold on. She said, you guys can also question yourself. Okay, she said, hold on, I got a text real quick. Let me read this real quick. So anyway, she said he's also insinuating that arson, kidnapping, and bribery are what we're charging him for, and we're not even charging him for that. They are acts that are a part of the RICO. So these are just different acts, predicated acts, but he's trying to make it seem like he's been charged for these things. He's not being charged for arson. He's not being charged for bribery. He's not being charged for kidnapping. So don't try to confuse the jury and say that we're charging him for that, because we weren't. So she went off, she spazzed out. So then the judge had to make that clear. Agnifilo had to make that clear. But Agnifilo, I think what he's doing now, he was throwing stuff out there because once you throw it out there, it sticks in the jury's mind, even if the judge says you're supposed to ignore that thought. Then we got into the forced labor. This is one of the charges: forced labor, the racketeering, and the prostitution. So forced labor. Mia expressed, this is all Mark still. Mia wasn't forced labored. Mia expressed great love and admiration for Diddy. And this was not unwanted sexual contact. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Mia definitely fucked Diddy. I don't think Mia was raped at all. I'm not going to lie. I think Mia's a liar. I think she was a hater. I think she loved Diddy, and I think she sucked it, and I think she did for free. You just sitting in the closet folding clothes, and you wake up and a dick is in your face, and he made you suck it. You just looked up, and then you just seen it. You was in your bed with he made you sleep in a room with no door lock and just slipped his finger up your dress on his 45th birthday, and then inserted himself inside you, and you just woke up. But then the next day you was telling him how much you love him. Mia was a liar. I didn't trust Mia. You wanted to be Cassie. She definitely wanted to be Cassie. I'm going to tell Cassie about us. Why would he tell Cassie that her. No, Diddy was going to tell Cassie that Mia let him. That was the tea. That was the real tea. Let's be honest. Hold on, y'all. That was the real tea. Mia and Cassie were friends, and Mia didn't want Cassie to know that she Diddy. Diddy created a remarkable workplace and a remarkable life for his employees. Then Mark came and pulled out a big old book where Mia had compiled a bunch of images from 1991 to 1992 to 2004, a history of Diddy, beautiful pictures and love notes. It was like a collage book and just a beautiful book that she made for Diddy. He said, now this is not any evidence, but we're going to just use this as a demonstrative. So they're demonstrating like, hey, she was so scared. She hated her job, but look at how much effort she put into this book that she made for Diddy and contacted all of his working, his colleagues and had them sign the book and put pictures in here. She went to the vault, the bad boy vault, and got old vintage pictures and put it all together and made it beautiful and wrote a love letter to Diddy. But yet you tell me he fingered her and popped it in her mouth unwillingly and unwarranted? Me is a liar. Pretty much is what he was saying. There hasn't been one person on Diddy's team in this trial that said they knowingly committed a crime. They all thought this was just his personal life. Then they went back to Cassie. If she could have both Kid Cudi and Diddy, she would. She's a hot, sexy woman, so she should do that. More power to it. I wrote Agnificolo tries to paint Cassie as a hoe. Then they went into the freak-offs. How is Diddy supposed to know that that any one particular freak-off is the freak-off that was trafficked? If everything was consensual sometimes, because he said what the government wants you to understand is this: some of the freak-offs were consensual and some of the freak-offs were not. They're not saying that all the freak-offs weren't. So Agnifilo is saying, well, how the hell is Diddy supposed to know what freak-off was consensual and what freak-off was not? Do you say freak-off number 75 was consensual, but maybe freak-off 76 was not? Is that now? So freak-off number 75 was the regular freak-off, and now freak-off 76 was the trafficking freak-off? Is that what we're saying? He was up there playing games today. Because the government said all the freak-offs weren't trafficking. So how do we decide what number or which freak-off was the trafficking? Then he said, let's talk about this surveillance video. There was nothing in that room in the Intercontinental that Cassie was afraid of. She wasn't scared to go back in that room. There was nothing in there scary. I'm like, really? Because remember, they were saying she didn't want to go back. She didn't want to do the freak off. She was scared. he was saying there was nothing in there for her to be scared of. And I wrote down, there was nothing scary in the room after she got her ass whooped. Why would she want to go back in the room and he just kicked her and stomped her face out? We saw the video. And there was nothing scary in there? Okay, I guess. I said Agnifalo's doing a terrible job with this intercontinental video. Then he went into the Cassie. He said that Cassie first said that she was in 2018. Then she meets with the government September 27, 2018. Then she pulls up a text where she texts Diddy, I had a lot of fun with you. I didn't want anything to happen, and I'm not tripping on it. I know you aren't either. I'll let you know about it with my publicist. So basically what they're basically saying is, he's saying that Cassie didn't get, he's saying that first she said it was September, then she said it was August, but the whole thing was he tied the boyfriend story and Cassie's story in the story together. So basically what Agnifalo is saying is this. Cassie was sleeping with Diddy. The boyfriend FaceTimed her, which is her husband now, while she was in Diddy. The husband found out later on that she was Diddy when he FaceTimed her. So Cassie went and lied and said that time was the rape. But as I remember, I feel like he picked her first, allegedly, and then she went back and picked him later, and that's when the boyfriend called. I don't know. He did some little trick with that and mixed that all up and made it one thing, and it just confused the out of me. I'm like, well, wait, whoa, where did we go? So I seen what he did there with that. He went and made that up. Like he went and mixed that whole thing up and kind of just threw that all up in there on us like that. I'm like, wait, what? So then he got into Jane Doe. He said Jane Doe had the world's worst lawyer in regards to her deal with her child's father. Actually, Diddy was the best thing that ever happened to Jane Doe. Diddy is doing the right thing, paying her bills. Wouldn't Jane Doe? Why would Jane Doe want, like, why would he still be paying her bills? He's doing the right thing. And they said, in regards to the freak off videos, they made homemade videos. And at that point, you committed to it. You're there. It's just a little freak off video at home. So I don't know why you committed to it. You're there. You guys are making the video. He's downplaying it. Then he said, and Jane Doe, what I thought was so interesting, after she hit Diddy and slammed his face into the table, and he hit her back. She says she runs into the closet and takes off one dress and puts on another dress. Why would she do that? They said she works out and she had intention to run away and go hide for 2 hours in the middle of the night. So why did she take off one dress and put on another dress? She was in the closet. She didn't have sweatpants.
Thank y'all for joining the live. Thank you for joining the live. Hit that subscribe button. Listen, you cannot have a defense calling all the women whores. Like, that can't be your defense. That's what it's boiling down to. She lying. She a hoe. She wanted it. Like, come on. That's the go-to playbook when powerful men get exposed. They strip the humanity from the woman and they sell it as their truth. When your whole case is about she lying, she liked it, you already lost the moral argument. Even if you win in court, no. Let's finish.
What? I mean, you tell me. I don't know. I'm like, yo, this man is out here spazzing out. And she said, they said, you remember the bestie video where she was laid up with Diddy and she had marks on her face and she said she wasn't documenting her bruises? She definitely was documenting her injuries, insinuating that there was a video that was played in court where Jane Doe and Diddy was kind of, laughing on TikTok, like just in a video, but she had visibly a black eye. But Jane Doe was saying she didn't even realize she had a black eye. She was just, kind of chilling with Diddy laughing. But the defense is saying she's foolish. She was trying to gear up to get a payday later on. So she was documenting the black eye so in case she needed to use it later in court. But she was playing like she didn't know. She just was doing the videos, taking a selfie. And they're like, no, she wasn't. Because the video, all she was saying is, bestie, 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 with a black eye that she forgot she had. It's like, what? So then they said Jane Doe went to Vegas just off a whim with a famous rapper and his girlfriend. And then he said, and you guys know who it is. So I'm assuming that the jury knows who the rapper is and the girlfriend. Or I don't know if the defense was throwing us an alley-oop and saying that because everybody was thinking it was Kanye and Bianca. I don't know if he was saying, yeah, I already know who it is without saying it, because they also wanted Jane Doe's identity exposed. But I don't know. I'm not saying it's Kanye now. I'm just saying, I don't know. Basically, he was saying Jane Doe says that she goes and just ends up at a freak off where Anton is with a rapper and his girlfriend and flashes her titties just enjoying the moment. Sounds like spring break to me. That doesn't make any sense. Does that make sense? They said Jane Doe was leaving something out. And I guess what happens in Vegas in this case really stayed in Vegas. But she's leaving some stuff out. Jane Doe was upset that Diddy would leave her after he freaked off on her. Jane Doe wanted money and she was jealous. That was her story. He's breaking everybody down. Then he said Don Hugh, or Dr. Hugh, the psychoanalyst, he pretty much said, I'm only going to spend a minute on her because that's all I have the time for. Don't believe she said, she's no better than me or you. Her career is to sit up here and tell you a bunch of generic information. She's a career witness. She has no clients and there's no clinical assessments being done. She's not doing any analytics. She's not even analyzed the defendant or Kathy or anybody else in this case to know what the mental state of them is. So you guys don't need to listen to what she's saying, because her job is to get up here, collect a check for $600 and tell you guys a bunch of basic general mental health tips and diagnosis that she don't even do because she busy on stand to stand, day to day, telling generic testimony. Was it? Yeah, $6,000 a day. Excuse me. Oh God, yeah. They said the defense is crashing out. Yeah, he was all one today. She was all what? Okay. Then we got into the prostitution. Let me see. Hold on, let me see. I just want to see how far we are with this and where we at. Okay, boom. So then we get into the prostitution piece. He starts talking about so Diddy got into it with the lady that runs Cowboys for Angels because the guy didn't get paid all his money and Diddy said he can't perform. And Diddy was like, I'm a frequent flyer. You can send me these things that can't perform.
Wow.
But Agnafilo is saying there's not enough evidence showing that Diddy exchanged money for sex.
Y'all do know Diddy called the agency and complained about one of the sex workers.
And the freak off videos that you see, the escorts, now he tried this. The freak off video where you see the escorts banging Jane Doe and Cassie, that's just homemade porn.
Are you ready for retirement? Our free retirement planner shows you where you stand now.
And people make money off of homemade all the time. But that's not an escort right there, fucking her. That's just homemade. I'm like, now what? Now he tried that. 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 He definitely tried that one. And so then we got into the enterprise. No evidence that Diddy was trying to maintain an enterprise through having sex with his girlfriends. Now, in order to get the RICO and the racketeering, the government needs to be racketeering and racketeering conspiracy, which means there needs to be somebody, a co-conspirator with it. It can't just be Diddy. So in order to get the enterprise, it has to be Diddy and another person. And this is why they got KK attached to it. Because the government has to prove racketeering conspiracy. Everyone loved KK. He said everybody should have a KK. The government needs to either prove that the two of these predicated acts, like kidnapping, arson, sex trafficking, forced labor, and transportation of prostitution, for it to be a RICO. And they need to show that it was the defendant and its co-conspirator conspiring against each other in two or more of these things in order for him to get the RICO. So they got to prove that either KK and Diddy was in on the kidnapping, the arson, the trafficking, the forced labor, or transportation of prostitution. Diddy and his co-conspirator was in on that for the enterprise. They have to prove that it wasn't just Diddy by himself. It was one other person in on it. That's why we keep getting KK, Fahim. And I didn't even realize Fahim be at the courtroom every day. He's been there since the beginning. I'm like, well, where's KK and D-Rock? Because Fahim be there every day. So anyway, KK is not a co-conspirator. She's just a nice, helpful person. What the lawyers say is not evidence. Where is there a single piece of evidence that KK is a co-conspirator? And they said, I just want to let you guys know what he's not charged with is gun possession. Anything that Don Richard said, not charged with. Carrie Morgan, flicking the hanger at her, not charged with that. And he's not charged with the domestic violence against Cassie. So don't take any of that testimony into your consideration.
I threw out a lot.
Hold on. They said that Agnifilo said the prosecution did something very dirty. They went and suggested that Diddy would have freak-off videos and abuse Cassie or have weapons, but you having weapons, but you don't see any videos with weapons. Where's the evidence? Diddy told escorts to piss on Cassie. And no, what happened is Cassie told the escorts to piss on her because he wasn't doing it right. When do we stop trusting the government? Do you think it's an honest answer? When do you stop trusting the government? They can't even tell you where they got the big SRT gun from. They just want to show you a big black gun in here, but they can't tell you because they want to make my client look like a big black danger. Well, they didn't say black, but he pretty much said they want him to look like a black nigga gangster. But why they can't tell you where the gun came from? There's DNA, there's female DNA in the car. They don't know where the prints, the DNA prints are. Do you really think you can trust the government? The government has targeted Sean Combs. Cassie's lawsuit came out, and the government wanted to make a case because it's Sean Combs. The government started their case without a live complaint, meaning nobody went to the government. Nobody filed a report. Nobody said, hey, this is happening to me. No one said anything like that. Do not trust the government. They are targeting Sean Combs because of his fame, his wealth, and his power. And they rested their case.
Wow.
So Comey was upset. She was upset about that. So she went and crashed out when we went to lunch. She was pissed. She was pissed. She was hot. She jumped up there and she said, this is absolutely not okay. This needs to be addressed right now. The judge got mad and was like, Agnifilo, why did you say that? Like, you can't really be saying that stuff. You tried to make it seem like you're not coming at the government, like, but you're coming against about the evidence, but then you double back and said, don't trust the government again. So you're insinuating like there was prejudice there, or like they're targeting him for other reasons other than the fact that he committed a crime. Like, so the judge, so then Agnifilo said, you know what? I did say it like that. I mean, don't trust him. You know, he kind of stood up for himself like, hey, I feel like it's fair to say. There's no real evidence here, and I stand on that. So they went back and forth. Long story short, once they came back, because the judge was saying, listen, because the prosecution wanted the judge to address the jury and tell the jury today, hey, ignore that. Don't trust the government. Don't trust the government, and don't question the government as to why they filed this case against Diddy. But Agnifilo wanted to wait till Monday for the judge to make that instruction. The prosecution said, we're not waiting till Monday to make that instruction, because if we wait till Monday to make that instruction, the jury has all weekend to sit on the fact that the government is somehow corrupt and out targeting Diddy and shouldn't be trusted. Of course, that works for Agnifilo. He suggested Monday. But then the judge said, well, Agnifilo, if you let that ride till Monday, then the prosecution has a right to respond. And I'm not sure you want that to happen. So then the judge said, I'm going to rule on this now. I'm going to instruct the jury to disregard that. And that's what he did. So Comey gets up. She puts her hair behind her head. And mind you, Slavic was supposed to be the one, I think, did it, but to redo the closing statements. But Comey is the lead on this. And I was like, Comey needs to be the one to do this because she can bring it home. Now, from inside the courtroom, people were saying that they weren't resonating with Comey. I think Comey is one of the best lawyers in this case. She ain't no joke. I like Comey too. She's no joke. She got up there and said, no, it's never an option for Diddy. He got what he wanted when he wanted, even if it means he beats and kicks the women. I don't need to go over everything that Agnifilo said and rebuttal it. Quite frankly, I don't have the time. But we're going to go over 3 different things: paying for sex, the enterprise, and Cassie and Jane Doe being a liar. Let's start with the paying for sex. So you say the defendant flew an escort out and gave them money, but it's not for sex? Even messaged Cowboys for Angels lady when you didn't pay the man all his money, and you messaged her and said because he couldn't perform. There was escorts even saying they wouldn't make as much money when they couldn't. So that's not paying for sex. That just doesn't make sense. He said, Agnifilo also said that why didn't we call many more witnesses and why didn't we call more escorts? They said, I want to make something clear. Uncalled witnesses were available on both sides. Just a direction. So both sides could have called anybody, because Agnifilo was trying to say, well, why didn't you call more people? Why didn't you subpoena this? But it's like, girl, y'all could have did it too. So we did what we did. Just focus on what's here. So that's null and void. No one has to call themselves escorts. People are not going to do that. This has been met. What matters is what's in the defendant's mind when he transported the escorts to sleep with Jane Doe and Cassie. So you mean to tell me that random men just want to come in and watch a masked masturbating celebrity just playing with himself while they sleep with his girlfriend for money, and that's not an escort? She called Diddy a mass masturbating celebrity. Yo, they were like, what? Yeah, she was in there carrying a mass masturbating celebrity.
Warning. Don't believe the AI trading hype until you watch this entire video. Hi, I'm Lane.
He also told Cassie to message and make sure that some of the escorts weren't cops. Why would you tell Cassie to message the guys and ask them if they were cops if the intention in your head wasn't to pay for an escort? You knew that it was an escort. It's all about the thought process in your head. When you knew that you were giving them money, you knew that you were paying for. So then they talk about the racketeering. count one. Diddy's at the top, KK and security, and then KK and the security, they would funnel things down to the rest of the assistants and everybody else. Where is KK? Everybody asking. That is just a distraction that people are trying to throw out here. They didn't agree with everything Diddy did, but because they played both sides, it helped bring. So here's the thing. KK didn't agree with everything that Diddy did, but KK and D-Rock and Fahim, they would play both sides. Cassie would message, Jane Doe would message, they would keep them calm, but then KK would then go and set up the freak-off room, where her loyalty was still towards Diddy. So KK would act like, all right, let me get these girls in order here, but then I got to go do what I need to do for Diddy, because it's like, all right, you just got punched up, but Diddy wants to freak off, so we still got to, get you a Band-Aid, but I'm also going to set the next freak-off room up. So they didn't have to agree with everything Diddy did, but it's because they played both sides. It helped bring Cassie back right after they and then they started putting things together to. All right, so here's this example. Remember when Cassie got beat up? KK was the one who kept calling Cassie in the Intercontinental. Calling Cassie, D-Rock calling Cassie. You guys remember that. Everybody was calling Cassie. They eventually got Cassie stable, got Cassie calm. Remember, KK was saying, just call him. She got Cassie to eventually get on the phone with Diddy, and they talked, smooth things over. But the next day, KK then immediately went to work on facilitating getting the surveillance video. Because then, after that, the guy came and dropped off the video to KK, and Diddy gave him $100,000. So it's like, you got Cassie calm, but then you guys had to get rid of this footage at the Intercontinental. So you're a co-conspirator. You just played both sides. You calmed Cassie, and once she was cool, you was like, now about this footage. We got to get this footage away. She said, they don't have to go and running around yelling, hi, we're in a racketeering enterprise. That's not how that works. Oh, Comey was cooking. They said, all you have to prove is that at least one of the members and the defendant agree to commit one of the predicate acts. That's all you need. Just one. One of the members. KK, D-Rock, Fahim. Then she said, let's address the no guns and the kidnapping. And the fact that, Mr. Agnifilo says that Diddy is a hands and fist guy. He would have went and fought, he's a fighter. He's more hands and fists. And I agree. Yeah, he is. With his girlfriends. If it's a woman, he'd beat the shit out of her. But when he has to fight a man, someone's his size, he has to bring a gun. I was like, ooh. And when it's a woman, he punches and kicks and fights her. So you're right. He is a hitter. But that's only for women. I was like, oh, wow. I'm telling you, they were carrying. She was in there carrying. I was over there like, oh, she had felt the way. She was pissed though at this point. So she was like, she was feeling away. Then she said, no evidence that he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car. She said, first of all, there's a message here from Cassie where Diddy said he was going to blow up the car. That's thing number one. And she said, it's obvious that Diddy is not the one that threw the Molotov cocktail in the car, but it came from his direction. She said, we're talking about a guy who doesn't even get his own water or plug his own phone up, charge his own phone. So you're trying to tell me, you're trying to make it seem like, he had to be the one to throw the cocktail in the car? This dude doesn't even charge his own phone. Let's be real here. He won't even get his own cup of water. She talked about the $100,000, the bribery. She talked about, the feds tapping phones, how Diddy knew that the feds was on. That's why he kept saying that he can talk on the phones. This is a guy who can't get his own water bottle or plug in his own charger. Okay. KK lived in the house, had access to the phones. And KK made payments to Eddie Garcia. So she made the payments to the guy. She paid the guy. She gave the guy the money for the surveillance video. So KK alone makes Diddy guilty on count 1. Defendant is guilty on racketeering and conspiracy. Also, they did a lot of talking about drugs. They said conspiracy and drug use and intent to sell drugs. So you got to find, like, where was he trying to sell drugs? Where was he trying to do this? Where's the conspiracy with drugs? She said, but Agnifilo.
Did you know that almost any question you have about your revenue data can be answered instantly? Let me show you how.
There was one thing that you didn't mention about the drugs that can add to the racketeering. Distribution. Giving drugs to another person is distribution. That goes towards the racketeering. Take the pill. He said, in the situation with Jane Doe, when she didn't want to do the freak off, after he beat her, he told her to take a pill and suck some dick. I was like, oh. I was like, whoa. So then we get into the Cassie and Jane Doe and Mia being liars. There was a lot going on. Hold on, boo. Prefers, here we go. The defense theory was this: Cassie wanted piss. Mia wanted to suck Diddy's, and Jane Doe was a hoe. And they wanted to be there, and they wanted to do the freak offs. But did they want to do it with UTIs, raw, being in high heels every day for hours, covered in baby oil for days, hours, bleeding, with sores in their mouth, sores in their pelvis? They wanted to be there. They wanted to do that. They wanted to get pissed. Cassie wanted to get pissed in her mouth. They wanted that. For the defense to be right about 3 witnesses, that would mean 3 witnesses committed perjury on the stand. Let's talk about Cassie. They say the defense alleged that Cassie made up her testimony for money. But here's the problem. She already got paid. By the time Cassie had hit the stand, she had already been paid $30 million. The $20 million back in 2023 or 2024, and before she hit the stand, she had closed on her $10 million settlement from the Intercontinental. Cassie came to the stand with $30 million. And people just, black people can't take that. And even me, I'm just, wow. I didn't like Cassie for a minute. After that, you feel me? I was just give a about Cassie. Oh, I was kind of upset too for a second. I just snap back out of it because I was over Cassie too. Keep talking about. Now, they said she would have cashed her check. If it was about the money, she would have cashed her check and she'd have moved on. She wouldn't even be talking about this. Why would Cassie want to go and put out all her personal business publicly with her name attached to it? She's in open court telling all her business. And she's getting nothing out of it. She's already been paid. So why would she need to lie about her testimony? It just doesn't make sense. Mia. Diddy was never going to tell Cassie. I don't know. People were talking about Mia's demeanor. This isn't the Oscars. This isn't the Tony Awards. No one's winning an Academy Award for a testimony in a courtroom. She has no reason to lie. And Jane Doe, she was saying these things before Cassie's lawsuit. Where was Jane Doe's lawsuit? Where's her money grab? If anything, Diddy is still paying her rent today. Why would she want to damage that? If he goes down, there's her rent. She has no incentive to get paid. There's no incentive there. He's still paying her bills. So it actually would be a disservice to her if he goes down because he's paying her bills. The problem is this. They broke free from Diddy's manipulation. Everybody wants to talk about jealousy. Jealousy tells us nothing about sex trafficking. But Jane did see the contrast in how she was being mistreated with in retrospect to these other women. And she got upset with that. And let's be clear. The violence is not separate from the sex. It goes hand in hand when no was never an option. The manipulation goes hand in hand with this when no was never an option. You guys got to get into that. Because people saying, well, this is not a domestic violence thing, but you got to hear it. The violence goes hand in hand with the sex, which leads into the trafficking when no was not an option. And here is why no was not an option. The videos that the defense shows of Cassie and Jane having fun, but be clear about a man and his wants and needs. It's always about him. It's a pattern. These videos you see, he's done them with Cassie, he's done them with Jane. It's the pattern. This is not about them having a great time. This is not about him loving them. This is about his wants and needs. This was the time where Diddy texts Jane, "Are we getting freaked out tonight?" Jane Doe says, "Yeah, I just haven't seen you though." Diddy gets upset and says, "I don't want to pay," basically gets upset and says, "I don't want to do this no more. I'm not paying your rent." And so the point is, if they didn't respond with total enthusiasm, he would get upset. So this goes into the text messages of when Diddy would say, you know, "Tell me something nasty," or "Talk to me horny," or "Talk to me." And then Cassie would say, "Oh, I want to freak off so bad. Oh, I want to freak off. Oh, freak off, freak off, freak off." And it looks like they want to do it. But what Comey is saying is, no, that's part of the script. If Diddy hits you with, "Are you horny?" and you say, "Kinda," then what's the problem? If I hit you with, "Are you horny?" you're supposed to say, "Oh, I'm so horny." Even if you don't want to. Because if not, then he gets into a mood. Does that make sense? So she said Cassie and Jane Doe were supposed to stay on script at all times. And they were supposed to be very enthused when he wanted to get into a freak off. They said Diddy knew what he was doing. He's very smart. He's a billionaire. Mr. Forbes list, right? He knew he was good with reading between the lines. He knew what he was doing. Cassie didn't need to tell him that he didn't want to freak off when she overdosed. Remember when she overdosed the night that he slammed her head into the wall and cut her eye, and they still had a freak off? Did she need to tell him that she didn't want to freak off? Sex trafficking is about getting someone to say yes through illegal means. Manipulation into beating or abuse into sex. All you need is one. One freak off where force, fraud, or coercion where Cassie and Jane were coerced.
I don't know, y'all.
And let's talk about these prizes. What prize did Cassie win with piss in the mouth, UTIs, and a black eye? What prize? What game? What did she win? What prize did she win? Prize? Piss in her mouth, UTIs, sores, and a black eye. She said,
let me tell you why we have Spectrum. I'm on a video chat. Melissa's live stream with her audience. The kids.
She would give all the money back if she didn't have to go through what Diddy put her through. She said they stayed because he mixed his abuse with love and affection. See, if it was all bad, it would have been easier to leave. He was a manipulator. See, where they went wrong, or what they didn't know is, Diddy had this lifestyle. He had the money. He had the excess. But what these women didn't know is the price they had to pay, they had to have a freak off. That was the price for the fame. That was the price for the lifestyle. None of this was free, and you weren't getting a relationship. They were all tools. You wanted access, you wanted trips, you wanted a good time, you wanted Diddy as a boyfriend. You had to pay. And you were going to pay with your coochie and your throat.
Oh my God.
All of his generosity was the cost of their freedom. You got to think about it. $10K a month for Jane Doe's rent, $20K for Cassie and her working out and her music. What's that to a Diddy? To him, money was nothing. To him, money was nothing. He would pay $10,000 on one night of a freak off. Hotel is $2,000. The escort gets $5,000. That's already $7,000. You got $2,000 in dope and another $3,000 in baby oil. And then after that, it's about $4,000 or $5,000 in damages. You spend $10,000 in a freak off every day. That's nothing to a Diddy. But to a Cassie or Jane Doe, $10K is everything. And he knew that. They just didn't know that for that $10K and a chain, you was getting a freak off in pain. Now, he beat the shit out of Jane Doe, then made her Anton and suck his. This is coercion. No, and this is when he said to Jane Doe, when he pulled the pill out and looked at her, he looked at her and said, now, is this coercion? Gave her the pill and said, now get back out there and go suck his. And that was June 2024. He told her, is this coercion? Take this pill and go suck his. The defendant is not a good person. The defendant is guilty. And that was that, y'all. It was a lot going on today. I'm telling you. That's what I'm saying. Comey ate it. I don't know. A lot of people are making it seem like Agnifilo really did his thing. I just think, I don't know. I don't know why they not. Comey really tore. She really tore today. It's no shade. She tore. She tore. A mass masturbating celebrity? So, anyway. Well, you can catch me tonight on Ashley Banfield on News Nation. I'll see you later on. I'm going on in about an hour. Busy day today. So I got to get up out of here because we're on to the next show. We're breaking this all down on the panel. So you make sure you want to get over there, or we'll post the clips over on YouTube later on.
Wow, you guys. So I'm still torn. I don't know. That their defense was, I don't know. That wasn't enough for me. But you know what? They dropped a lot of the main charges that I thought was going to be there. So to me, it's a 50-50 chance that Diddy get off. So even though the defense really didn't try to prove Diddy was innocent, it just tried to make sure nobody believed the women. You know what I mean? And if that ain't a reflection of how society works, I don't know what is. So until next time, thanks for joining me. Peace.